What is going on, guys? Now, lesson three, we're going to go over sessions and times to trade. Okay. So, one of the great things about the Forex market is that it is open 24/5, right? So, it's open 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? So, pretty much the market's open Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. All right. So remember Eastern time. It may be different to whatever time zone that you're in. We're going to explain more of that later. And then it closes on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So you can buy and sell, you could take trades the whole time the Forex markets is open. Okay. But that could also be the biggest kryptonite. That could also be one of the people's biggest problems is the fact that there's so much flexibility in Forex that you can trade at all hours of the day. It's most of the time not the most effective thing to do because you just don't want to think that, oh, well, if I'm only able to go to the charts at between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m., I'm gonna look for a trade then. That's not the best thing to do. Okay. And the reason it and the reason that is because we do have three sessions that we focus on in the overall Forex market, right? So just show you examples here. One second. Yeah, because everything is mostly a Google search, but we could see we have Sydney, Tokyo, that's also combined. So Sydney and Tokyo, these two are pretty much considered your Asian session market open, right? So that means Sydney starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, as you can see here. And this is where the Sydney session starts. And I'm gonna go over the pairs that impacts as well. And then Tokyo starts around 7 p.m. Eastern, right? So those two sessions is considered Asian market open, Asian sessions, Sydney and Tokyo. So you're going to hear the terms a lot that we are like right now is Asian session market open. That's most of the time, most of the things that you're going to hear a lot of traders say. So let's look at the chart right here. So you can see this. I'm going to focus right here in this zone. If you're looking at a currency chart, these boxes is just considered a 24-hour period. All right. So within 24 hours, you're going to have these sessions. You're going to have these three sessions. Right here is 5. So this is where Sydney market opens. Okay. And then from 7, you're going to see at this time right here, this is when Tokyo opens. When you're trading Asian session, it typically is when you're trading a session, right? We're just going to focus on Sydney right now. Then we're going to move on to the others. It is Asian session market. The way I like to look at it is obviously if we have those sessions opening and the markets is only available during those sessions, it is typically important to trade the actual asset or currency that is involved at that session, right? So Sydney, right? We would say Asian session. I'll just put it right here. So Asian session typically impacts AUD currency. That is for Australia, right? NZD currency. That is for New Zealand. Also, Asian session, don't forget, it impacts like China and Tokyo. So, but for the currency space that we trade, it's JPY currency. And it's mostly it. That's mostly like the main focus for Asian session, is AUD, NZD, and JPY are the main currency pairs that actually gives a lot of volume during Asian session market open, right? Not just the open, because now how long is that session open for, right? So just remember, right? Sydney opens at 5, and you can see that right here, it ends at 2 a.m. So typically, this is the stock exchange. This is the exchange market for Australia. So every country that we have, like Australia, has its own stock exchange, meaning like most of us is from the United States. So we have the New York Stock Exchange, and it opens at 9:30. I'll get to that as well. But that's like the S&P 500. So Australia has its own stock exchange, and the market's open right here at 5 p.m. and it lasts all the way till 2. So that normally impacts the AUD currency. New Zealand has its own stock exchange that opens at this around this time, and these periods last until 2 a.m. Okay. So look at Tokyo. So Tokyo starts at 7 p.m. and it lasts till 4 a.m. Okay. So with those two pairs, remember what I was saying before, the currencies, you're going to be focusing on AUD, NZD, and JPY typically are the best currencies you should focus on during Sydney and Tokyo Open. So that is Asian session. So now let's move forward to right now. What's next? After Tokyo, we get London session. So London typically starts at 4 a.m. like Eastern. Well, to me, it depends on the time zone and the time changes. But London session officially, if there's no session change, right? There's no time zone change. London session starts at 3 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So 3 a.m. Eastern time, London market open. Okay. And then it typically lasts all the way till about 1 p.m. Well, 12 p.m. Eastern. So it'll be from 3 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time. That's when the London and Euro stock exchange is open. Okay. So when we look at a chart now, what pairs just have this right here. So you could just see the line for this pair. This right here is when London opens. And then all the way to right here is where London session closes. Okay. So what currency pairs should we trade during those times? So if we're looking at London, right, that's going to affect the British pound. So that is GBP. And if we're looking at euro, that's going to affect the euro currency. Okay, so those are typically the pairs that I like to focus on over the London Euro Stock Exchange Open, right? And also the United Kingdom have its own stock exchange. People know it's the UK 100, and Euro also has its own, is also called the DAX. So those are normally typically the main assets you should be focusing on during London, okay? Because it would give you the most volume. And the reason why I say this is because I'm gonna talk a brief on it later, but I'm gonna say it now because during these session times, right? If there's Sydney session, Tokyo Open, right? Australia is open during those times. So that means if there's economic data for Australia, it would normally be at the session that is open. It is not going to be Australia data. It's not going to happen at New York. It's going to only happen in the session that is specific for that currency. So if there's economic data, like say if there's housing data for Australia, it's going to be during Asian session. That's where the data is going to come out. London, if there is European data or London data, it is going to be during London session. Okay. So the times it's going to be in between. The data is normally going to be at 3, in between 12. You're not going to see London economic data like housing or GDP data is not going to happen during New York session. It's only going to be during the session that is required for that currency. That's why it's important to only focus on that pair. So if I have GBP data coming out that is say GDP data is coming out for the United Kingdom and is at 4:30 a.m. Eastern, it is not going to impact the AUD currency. So that means I want to focus on a GBP currency because that data is going to impact that currency individually. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Now let's move forward. What we also have coming. So now the next session, New York. So New York session, typically the right here is just because it's going by the time zone changes. But New York session starts at 8 a.m. and it typically ends at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if we have a time zone change, then we see that it starts at 9, then it ends at 6. So it's two time zones. If we have a time zone change, it's 9 a.m. If we don't, it's 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. is typically the New York Open, right? So the pairs that we like to focus on for the US currency, obviously, we will say it is the USD currency. This is what we typically look at. If you're looking at US equities, right? You got the S&P 500, you got NASDAQ, and then you also got the Dow Jones, right? So you typically want to trade those assets during New York time, right? Typically is the best moves. Also, you could add gold in there as well because US data is going to be at those times. at those time changes. Okay, so let's look at when is New York. It's going to be, so typically it's going to be right here. So you can see the time when you're using trading view is at the bottom and it ends pretty much right here. It ends at 5. So this is the zone that you have for New York Open. So that's when typically you're trading US data is going to be at that time. So it's going to impact those assets. That's why it's important to understand time zones, right? Because when you're trading these time zones, what typically has the most volume, right, is the most volume is New York session because it's just a lot of market participants is trading during New York session. So between market open at New York all the way towards probably around 2 p.m., I would say would be the most volume in the markets. So the most volume I would say is New York session is mostly the best time to be active in the charts and trade. The second to me is London session because the London Stock Exchange, like there's more money, more volume is going to be traded during those times. So you get a lot of good moves, a lot of good volume, a lot of good possible tradable opportunities during these two sessions. And those are the two sessions I typically focus on the most. Then third, my least favorite is Asian session. Okay. So Asian session, it's very slow. You don't typically get a lot of good market moves during Asian session. So we typically, like me personally, I just use those sessions just to analyze and just do weekly preps on. But sometimes we do get rate decisions from Australia, New Zealand, and Japan at those Asian session times. And I will focus on those only if there's only an impactful event going on during Asian session. Other than that, I just leave it alone. But the main ones I focus on is New York session and London session. Okay. So now let's just move forward from there. Hopefully that's pretty simple, straight to the point, and I'm gonna actually put this in the bottom so you can see it for yourselves, just so that y'all can have a screenshot because I know this is new to you. So this is a website right here, Forex Time Zone Converter. Right here, I have New York, my time zone. Everybody's from different time zones, so you could just find where it is. And then when you find your time zone, you just click it in, and then it would literally tell you when the actual market zones are open. Right now is over the weekend, so everything is closed. So this is just a free source that you could use, and just so you could get familiar with it. Because like right now, I know the time zones, so you could just see it says it right here, like Germany, because like German starts at 2 a.m. and it lasts till 10 a.m. So German obviously is Europe. You see right here. Then we have London, and obviously, London, Germany broke up because of Brexit, but London starts at 3 a.m. And you can see it impacts the pound and the euro currency. So both sessions are open at that time. Then it typically ends, you see it ends at 11 a.m. So during these two time zones, euro and London session is very active, right? And then it overlaps, right? Because now at 8 a.m., we have New York. This is why these sessions are very valuable and very impactful because we have the London open and it's continuing throughout New York session. So we have the London Stock Exchange, Euro Stock Exchange, and then we have the New York Stock Exchange all open at the same time after 8 a.m. But normally the New York Stock Exchange open at 9:30. But I mean, for currencies, we have all three countries is now pretty much open during those times. But you can still trade it at any other time. But this is at the actual time for Forex where we actually reach another time. We actually reach that session. Okay. And then we can see here, these are the time zones of where it all closes. Okay. So that's pretty much it when it comes to this part. Not really much else to go over. So I just want y'all to know, like, definitely it's because I'm at Eastern time. So the time zones is going to be different for you. And when it comes to trading at these time zones, remember what I said about the best sessions to trade, because as long as I've been trading this, I never became profitable trading over Asian session or just saying, well, I work 9 to 5. I could only trade at 5 p.m. The markets are very slow at that time. You have to try to find a way to be present for the markets because the markets is not going to just be present for you. The markets don't care about your schedule. It doesn't care about that you're tired. They don't care about that. If you want to trade London session and data is at 3 a.m., you have to be up for 3 a.m. to trade data, right? So that's how the markets is. This is how it goes. You have to react to the markets. The markets is not going to react to you. Okay. That's one of the lessons that I had to learn for myself very early on is that I have to adapt myself to be present for these opportunities that always come out. Okay. It's not going to adapt to you. So we all are tired. We all are going through this. So this is why I'm telling you this now. So it's not a surprise to you later. If you are too tired during London session, I understand. But if that's the only time you're able to trade, you have to fucking be up and trade at that time. All right. Even for New York, it says even if, because if there's data at 8 a.m. and you got to go to work at 9 a.m., try to be up for 8 a.m. to trade those important data times, right? And then just get your ass to work because it's not going to react to you. Saying that I can't make it, it's not going to help you because these are the sessions that is extremely important where you could get the best tradable opportunities. All right. So just try to make it work. And trust me, there's hundreds of traders, hundreds of people that went through it and they have succeeded. Your problems that you're going through, saying that you can't do it, it's possible because many people have done it. All right. So this is just a guideline just to show you the sessions. Remember, the important time zones that I like to trade is New York and London. Those will give you the best opportunities, the best volume. So whatever you can do to prep yourself to be available to trade at those times will definitely help you in the long run.